What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Well, I guess everyone's back. Welcome back to another episode of Sports and Stuff with Matt and Zach. I'm Matt.
And I'm Zach. And we're back.
We're back.
We're
Zach and we're back. I mean, we can start like a rep. No,
that's all right. Long hiatus. Took about a month off?
It was more like we did the free agency, NBA free agency, which was the first part of July. And then I think we did one right after that. I think it's been about 2.5, 3 weeks since our last pod.
July is just such a slow month. I mean, unless baseball, and of course, once we get into the playoff run, we'll talk a little bit baseball. But middle of summer baseball is just not our thing,
bro. And I've been busy. He's been busy. You've been going on vacations.
Tell the people what you've been doing, my friend.
Good. No.
I think it is important that we talk just for a quick moment about what you've been doing the last couple of weeks.
So I have, I'll talk to the people out there.
There you go.
I have picked up a role as a high school football coach. I'll be coaching offensive line, offensive assistant, defensive line, defensive assistant for a local high school, Thomas Worthington. Go Cards!
Yes, sir.
I don't know if they have a gang sign yet. I haven't figured that out yet. But no, so I've been extraordinarily busy. We're in our 2 days right now, and I mean we're going. I mean it's football. So for me, football started last Monday. I think it's a good time right now. We got football revving up. We had the Hall of Fame game, which I didn't watch. I'm not gonna lie.
So I watched the first series, and I was making dinner or something, and Michelle had it on while she was sitting in the living room. And after 10 minutes, I was like, "You can turn this off. I don't care. Turn it off."
I got my boy D Stove out there. I will say that Stover right there is a good man. He got me actually in my first gig in coaching, which was the semi-pro stuff that I did all summer long.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you to Stove out there if you're still tuned in, because he got me that little passion burn. Because I actually went to school to be a football coach. But what happened was I took the first job when you got to college because you need that money, and you just lose what you wanted to do. But I got that back now, and I'm pumped.
I went to school to do this.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen.
I never thought I'd do something like this. But enough about us.
Yeah.
We just want to say again, thank you for all the support. I know some of you have been kind of hitting us up going when's the next pod? When's this? We're back. We're on a weekly schedule.
Yeah.
So you're going to be getting annoyed with us. We're going to be doing this. So here's the thing, Zach, and I'm going to tell all the people out there, we're going to reference this 2 ways. We have our live pod that we have right now on Facebook Live. We're going to put this on YouTube as well. We're also going to get the audio from this and put it as our normal podcast that's going up on iTunes and all that. So guess what? If you're watching us, listening to us right now, we're gonna speak to you as well that can't see us. But the people that can see us right now, we get you and we got you. Football.
So
bro.
So moving forward, instead of trying to figure out this week, do we want to pod? This week, do we want to do a live show? We decided that we're just gonna mix them all together, and so get our listeners in, our viewers on Facebook, YouTube, and just get it all in one place. So we're pumped.
So of course, if you have any questions for us, Zach has it up right here. He's going to let us know if there's anyone out there that has any comments, questions, concerns. We're talking NFL, fantasy football, the running back position, the money position. We're going to be talking about that. We also have a poll question attached to this. Who do you think is going to have the best fantasy football year as a running back? We got Saquon Barkley. We got Zeke up there. We got Kamara up there. And we got little Mighty Mouse, Christian McCaffrey. I think he's the new Mighty Mouse. He's no more Doug Martin.
Yeah.
It's Christian McCaffrey. So let's just jump into it, man.
Let's do it.
So we ranked out our top 20. Now, if you want a more expansive list, we can pull that out. Trust me.
I put together a top 50.
He's got a top 50.
We can put something out if you want to see it. Just put it on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
If you want to check it out.
We're going to definitely put stuff up on the Facebook page, the Twitter page, our ideas of who we think are the best positions out there. We're also going to be doing a Matt and Zach fantasy football league. So let us know. Put it in the comments section during this thing. If you want to be part of it, it's going to be a free one. We're going to give a grand prize out to the winner. We haven't decided that yet. Again, we've taken a break from this. I've been so excited to get back into this because I feel like I want to share my thoughts with the beautiful people out there.
So expect more details on the fantasy league. We'll be doing a 12-man league. We'll figure out the details and send them to everybody on how we're going to pick the other 10. Yeah. Both Matt and I will have a spot, and then we'll open that up. But probably have more details on that next week. And then excited to talk about that throughout the month of August, leading right up into the beginning of the regular season. We're going to hit up a different major position every week on fantasy football. We're going to hit our
Divisions.
previews on each division going up into the beginning of the season.
2 divisions a week. We do
Yeah.
AFC East and NFC East this week. And then we're also going to talk college football. We're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
College football, you can't talk divisions because not everyone's going to want to know about the bottom barrel of the ACC. We'll do a complete coverage of that maybe the week or 2 weeks before. But let us know when you want us talking fantasy football or college football, because that, to me, I know we talk about this, NFL fan. I love college football as much, even more than I like NFL football.
And I think for those of you that didn't really check us out last football season, that's really when we first got started, where we transitioned from your own thing into both of us together.
Bro, it's bread and butter time. Like, we had that little fling during the summer with the NBA. It's like, hey, what's up? We got that summer fling going on. We're back into that stable relationship. Fantasy NFL football. We love fantasy football. We're going to talk fantasy football each week easily. If you have any questions on that throughout the week, in the chats, in the go to our page, hit us up, man. We might not always be right. I mean, I've won a couple fantasy leagues. I don't know about my partner here, but we tend to know rankings. We tend to know who to play at the right time. And then after that, it's all fluky.
And for those that checked us out last season, you know what we are going to have the return of this football season.
What are we going to have the return of, Zach?
Stoplight.
I'm
excited for the return of the stoplight this season.
Bro, we're going to have a lot of stuff coming up in the future, but let's get into talking about fantasy football runnings. How do you want to do this? Do you want to go – I think it's less suspenseful, 1 through 10 than it is 10 through 20. So I think we start at the top and then make our way down, because we're going to your top 10 running backs for the most part are all going to be there. Whether what ranking you have them at is going to be different there. I also put it out what is called the master sheet. Now, this sheet is a website goes through ESPN, goes through Yahoo, goes through all these major sites, and they have a ranking of these guys in the average ranking.
Oh, so all the websites together. That's interesting.
So this will give us an idea what the encompassing all of it is, of what they're average at, and where I think maybe that there's some reaches, there's some sleepers. We have some of that on this as well. Yeah. So let's talk about it. Let's start with number 1.
The one thing that I want to point out that Matt and I talked about before we jumped on camera is his rankings are as of today. So that his rankings are based off of Zeke and Melvin Gordon holding out, whereas I prepared mine as if they were playing. Yeah. So that small tweak, that's not going to be a huge change, but just where we have those players will be a little different.
To be completely honest, I actually think I have Gordon higher than most people do, where they don't have – I think I'm more thinking he's going to play. But number 1, I think we're both going to be in agreement here. It's Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Not much to add on this because he's their only playmaker. I mean, they have Golden Tate there. They overreach. We'll talk more about the Giants here once. And I have a book on the Giants. Oh, my gosh. I can't believe
I'll let you roll when we get to that point.
But, so the Saquon Barkley, number 1 guy, he's going to get a ton of passing game looks. He's going to get a ton of running game looks. He might even kick field goals. He might take extra. I mean, he's going to do everything for this team. He might not have the best. I mean, they did pick up Kevin Zeitler from the Browns in the trade for Odell and Olivier Vernon. He's a very good guard. I mean, they have a makings of a decent line. They have Willie Hernandez, that they drafted last year, and he seems to be a guy that's going to be a starting offensive lineman as well. They have a really good building block for an offensive line, but they don't have the playmakers wide. Even if Golden Tate's healthy, for me to think that they're going to take a lot of plays away from Saquon, I think Saquon's going to have close to a record number of touches this year.
I have Saquon as my number 1 as well. I think it's closer to my number 2 than you probably do. I don't think Saquon is that clear cut. I think for me, 1 and 2, you can't miss my 1 and 2 guys.
I will say this though, Saquon Barkley would not be my number 1 if a certain someone isn't holding out. It's easy. We'll get to that here in a second.
Okay.
But Saquon would not be my number 1 if a certain someone wasn't holding out and I thought was going to play week 1. So we're agreeing. Saquon number 1.
Saquon's number 1.
I think we're in agreement here too because we're kind of cheating. I can see on his thing. We both have Mighty Mouse, Chris McCaffrey at number 2.
The difference between you and I is I don't care about said holdout player. C-Mac is my number 2 no matter what.
C-Mac is my number 3 let's talk about it. Zeke would be my number 1 running back fantasy football player if he was playing. The guy leads the league in rushing every year. He's getting more into the passing game, and I think he's going to be more in the passing game this year if he comes back because they don't really have that go-to traditional number 2, like scat back that can take in the passing game, and I think they're going to use him more in there. Plus, with Amari Cooper out wide, I think it's going to open up a little bit more lanes for him to run. I just think that Zeke would be my number one guy if I was 100% knowing that he was going to play. Now, next week, if he signs, he bolts up to my number one.
Now, what you're saying about your expectations of if Zeke plays is my same expectation for C-Mac. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to break a record with touches this year. And then to add to that, coaching is saying we are going to get him more touches, but get him less plays. So they only want to use him. And I understand that defensively, C-Mac's coming in, we expect him to touch the ball. I get that, but when he's as explosive as he is, the fact that you're going to get him a break on some plays and still try to grow his touches, I guess I have a love relationship with Christian McCaffrey because he got me to the championship last year, and I just love watching him play.
There's no. He's loved by a lot. Let's put it that way. I will say this in that whole dynamic that you just said about getting him more touches on less plays. He was on the field for 93% of the offensive plays for the Carolina Panthers last year.
Yep.
Even if they cut him back to 84% of the plays and give him the ball a little bit more, he's still going to be on the field the majority of the time. Yeah. So let's not put it out here that they're only going to use him 50-50. Now, they do like Curtis Samuel there, and I think Curtis Samuel they're going to try to work in there a little bit more in the passing game and maybe offload him in the passing game as much.
Okay.
But I still think Christian McCaffrey is going to get the ball tons.
Yeah.
It's not even a question. He's their best playmaker. Their wide receiver group isn't the best right now. DJ Moore's a very capable receiver.
Yeah.
Cam Newton, is his shoulder ready? We don't know.
And I also don't think that matters. I think that in the beginning of the season, Christian McCaffrey will benefit more from an injured Cam because of the short offloads than if he was healthy.
Exactly. And then number 3 for me, and number 3, we're going to be different on this. I'm going Alvin Kamara, but he'd be my number 4 in this whole situation. Yeah. But Alvin Kamara, to me, I think these top 3 guys are going to get the ball a ton. Everyone's sitting there going like, well, it's the New Orleans Saints. They just paid Michael Thomas. Yeah, they're going to still throw the ball. Alvin Kamara is going to be is going to get 20-plus touches a game.
I have Alvin Kamara as my number 4, right there in the same area as you. If Zeke was playing, Kamara is another gimme. He's going to have a big year. Alvin Kamara is still yet to be that guy for more than like 5 weeks.
Here's the thing. Last year, he proved to me that he can be the guy that takes a lot of workload early.
But it wasn't for a full season.
But also, Mark Ingram came in. He played well in a lot of time there in that stretches. So that actually ate up into him. Who's the number 2 right now in New Orleans? Yeah, I know they got one out with Latavius Murray, and he's a nice, capable. He's kind of Mark Ingram, a poor man's Mark Ingram for that team.
I think that's a fair. It's what he did in Minnesota before injuries made him become a starter.
Yeah.
What was that, 2 years ago?
Well, yeah, it was last year too, because Dalvin Cook had the hammy for a lot of time. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with any one of those 3. Again, I have Zeke at 4. You have Kamara at 4. So really, we're in that same realm in the top 4 guys. Really, I don't. If Zeke is there, I don't think that you can go wrong with any one of those top 4 guys as a running back. And most likely, those are going to be your top 4 picks in every fantasy draft, unless there's like a huge PPR, like maybe you're at a 1.5 per catch league or something like that. I think
you're going to have some people that are going to reach on my number 5 into the top 4, maybe even top 2.
This is where we differ.
My number 5 is Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell.
And I think that there are going to be some people that reach for him that think that he is going to do what he did 2 years ago. I don't think he is, but he's going to get the volume. Unless he gets hurt.
I'm just cheating to see what I saw someone posted something.
So it's just Matthew Nolan Seaburn saying interesting because he knows that he has the top pick in our friend.
There we go.
I'm assuming that's what he means.
There you go. Interesting. Hey, you know who's really good at number 1? I'd say go with like Aaron Jones. Like he's about to have a breakout year.
The best part is when we talk about these rankings. For me in our league, I got second, so I get Saquon or C-Mac. Yep. I'll take either. I don't care.
Either one.
But back to Lev Bell.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off there.
It is possible that he's not ready and that he gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But your rankings have to be based off of – you can't be like, he might get hurt.
Yeah.
He has a history – like if someone has a history of getting hurt, like I don't want to draft Dalvin Cook because he gets hurt. You have to base I mean, you do a little bit on the injuries, but you really have to, when it comes to rankings at least,
absolutely,
go off of the pure talent and expectations.
And that's why my number 5, and I still don't understand why he's getting so much hate, Todd Gurley. I mean, yes, there's something that happened at the end of last year that kind of is a concerning to you. And they did say that they're going to still give him they're going to give him his fair amount of touches. They might hold him back a couple plays here and there in games. But I still think that Todd Gurley is better than, he's still better than most of the top 10 running backs on his day. And he's going to be on his day for probably 10 or 12 weeks of the regular season.
Well, and that's what's interesting is we're going to talk about sleepers later, and this is not one of mine, but it seems to be a lot of people's, is a lot of people are talking about Henderson, the rookie in Los Angeles. I almost said St. Louis, Los Angeles. And I'm like, why? It's like they automatically think Gurley's going to get hurt. They said that
they had the same thing happen with I think it was Josh Malone. I can't remember the guy that they drafted last year as a backup running back there. And they thought he was going to have a good year. But because that offense, I'm telling you this right now, I still believe Todd Gurley is a top 5 running back in this league. He's a top 5 fantasy guy, in my opinion. And I think that he's still poised to have a big year. Are you concerned a little bit about his knees? Of course. That's why I would hate to be in the middle of the first round and you see Todd Gurley there and you're like, I got to take him. But yes, I have a little bit of a pause. I mean, you say that all the time with there's a lot of guys here like Leonard Fournette. You're going to have that. You're going to have that part of that to it. There's always those guys. Was it Jordy Nelson was a top, 3 third-round wide receiver a couple years ago, but he was always hurt. You always have these things that you have to worry about. I still think that he is, on his day, the best, or if not one of the best running backs in this league.
I
and
agree.
That offense is explosive.
I definitely agree with you. I just think running back is so deep right now that it's hard to, like you said, 1 through 10. I won't even say 1 through 10. I'd say 1 through 7 is tough. Outside of your top 2, top 3 are clear cut for me. But I don't think Todd Gurley at 5. That's earlier than I've seen a lot of people have him. Yeah, I've seen people have Gurley as like RB20.
That's terrible.
Which blows my mind.
Yeah, and then this one, it's RB8 for Todd Gurley on.
I think that's fair. I have him at right here. I have him at 8, but I actually think I have him at 7.
To piggyback off of what you said, I have Lev Bell at number 6. Le'Veon Bell for me. You gotta look past the year off, guys. I'm speaking to the people out there. I'm not talking to Zach. You got to let go of that year off. He took a sabbatical. He wanted to get his done. Look at the Jets roster. Look at their skill positions. Somebody's going to have to take the lion's share of the carries of the passing game. They don't have a lot of offensive weapons. We'll get into that when we start talking about AFC East preview. But there's going to be a lot of opportunities. And in fantasy football, it doesn't matter how good you are. It's about your opportunities you get. And Lev Bell's going to get a lot. Yeah. And you have to accommodate what you think. 80% of what Lev Bell was 2 years ago is still better than a lot of running backs in this league. For sure. And especially on the usage rate that they're going to get. They're going to run him into the ground these next 2 years. And this is a good reason to have him. And he's going to score the majority of the touchdowns. They don't have a blow off the top playmaker there.
Well, because what's the next option? Elijah
McGuire. You have Rodney Anderson in the passing game. They went out and said Jamison Crowder. There's nothing there that goes like, oh my God. When you look at like our Los Angeles team with Todd Gurley, you're like, well, they got cooked. They have options in the passing game. They don't have many options in the passing game. So I know that there's the stats out there that Adam Gase doesn't use his running backs in the passing game very often. Yes, but did you look at Kenyon Drake the last couple of years? He was used a lot in the passing game. The numbers aren't as high in the usage percentage because now we're starting to get into these advanced stats with fantasy football, which I'm a fan of. I love stats. But you also got to realize that the sample size of dropbacks when Tannehill was there, he liked to throw the ball a little deeper down the field. They passed the ball a lot more in Miami than they did in many other places. So, of course, those percentages are going to drop down a little bit. You got to remember, Lev Bell is one of the best catching, receiving running backs in the history of this league. He took the year off, let it go, really study and watch.
I don't think really. I think that most people were taking him in the top 10.
There's a lot of people. I mean,
maybe not top 10, top 15 for sure.
And what's really kind of messing up, I did my list and then I looked at this list and I didn't change. And I'm pretty parkour, whatever one's at right there. Par to the course, not parkour. We're not doing some parkour hardcore here. But yeah, so Lev Bell and then David Johnson I have at number 7. I think you have him at 6. So your 6th pick is David Johnson. I don't know what he's going to do.
It's hard. So I mean, David Johnson, here's what's funny, is David Johnson was a huge disappointment last year. But he wasn't bad.
Their offense was terrible.
Yeah, and it's not going to get any better.
I think it's going to get a lot better. I think they're poised. You're poised to see the reason
what weapon?
So here's
you're going to tell me Fitzy is still going to go ahead.
I'll give you the. Last year they had Wilkes, who's now the Browns defensive coordinator there. He's a defensive mind. He didn't really pay a lot of attention to the offense. The offense is kind of like Rosen, kind of go out there and run around, whatever. Their offensive line got better, so they have more time to protect him. Kyler Murray, I think they're going to run a lot of maybe not the full read option type thing. They either give them that, and I think that they're going to be Kyler Murray is going to garner enough attention on the outside that David Johnson, they're not going to have as much spying on David Johnson.
But they have to give David Johnson the ball, and it's something they didn't do last year until the last couple weeks.
I also like Cliff Kingsbury. I think David Johnson's going to have a better fantasy year because I think he's going to have more opportunities in the passing game.
Okay.
Because
he did 2 years ago.
Because they're going to throw the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Because they're going to throw the ball a lot. And that's what Cliff Kingsbury does. He throws the ball. I mean, his track record in college is that he is a run and shoot coach.
Yeah.
Now, will that change a little bit in the NFL? Of course. You can't be that way in the NFL. I think that everyone's sleeping on him. Cliff Kingsbury is going to be a better NFL coach than he was college coach, which is really weird to think because you would think his skill set sits more in the college game. I think he's going to have a heck of I don't think the Cardinals are going to be as bad as people think they are. I also think that Fitzgerald isn't as bad as people put him out to be. I know he's old. He still runs hell of a route.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's no doubt about that.
So that was your 7 was David Johnson, or your 6 was David
Johnson.
My
7 was Todd Gurley.
So your 7 was Todd Gurley. You already talked about. My 8 is Melvin Gordon. He'd be top 5 if I wasn't sure that he would be playing this year.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think he's going to play this year. I'm unsure where he's going to play. Will he be playing with the Chargers? Will the Chargers trade him? Will he decide to sit out? I don't know. Melvin Gordon, to me, is a top 5 fantasy running back. He was last year. He was phenomenal until he got hurt at the end of the year. But did he get hurt? Yeah, he got hurt at the end of the year because I had to start Justin Jackson in one of my leagues.
Yeah, because
I had Melvin.
I went to the Steelers-Chargers game.
Yeah, and Justin Jackson
was the starting running back.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That was one of my best pickups last year to get me, vault me into the playoffs.
I actually have Melvin Gordon at 8 as well. Don't worry about that.
Oh, okay.
I have Melvin Gordon at 8 as well. I love me some Melvin Gordon.
I love Melvin
He's
Gordon.
my second favorite running back in the NFL.
Gordon.
I love watching him.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately for him, he's asking for too much money. We'll talk about that after our rankings.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I love Melvin Gordon. I think he is no matter what.
No matter where he's playing,
I
think he's a top. He's a top 10 guy if he's on a team playing.
Here's what's bad. What hurts Melvin Gordon. And compared to some of these other guys that you look at ahead of him, Saquon, nobody else. Christian McCaffrey, nobody else. Zeke, nobody else. Kamara, a little bit.
I think
Le'Veon, nobody else. David Johnson, nobody else.
Zeke has somebody there.
Eckler, played really well last year.
Eckler's okay.
So Eckler's not going to come in and get 20 snaps, but he proved himself enough that he will drop Melvin Gordon snaps a little bit. That happened last year.
And Jackson will get some role too. Even what ends up happening, there will be some spite with the front office and Melvin Gordon, no matter what happens.
Sure.
And I think a cooler heads will prevail a couple weeks down the road. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, you're not going to see the full on Melvin Gordon unless he comes to camp now.
Yeah.
So that was what we had for the top 8.
Yeah, so I think we agreed across the board on our top 8, right?
Excuse me. My number 9 is a guy that I had last year, a guy that's very frustrating because he has great games, he has average game, he doesn't really have bad games. Joe Mixon.
Right there with you.
And again, another guy that doesn't have a ton of competition. Giovanni Bernard's gone. They re-signed him.
Yeah.
He's so in. The Cincinnati Bengals are so insignificant in the world right now. They have no AJ Green for at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd's good, but he's not a number 1. He's a 1A player. He's great number 2. He's not a great
talk
number
about
1.
Boyd next week. So
okay, yeah, whatever. But and so they lost Tyler Kroft in free agency. Eifert is never playing, so there's not a lot of weapons around. So I like Mixon as a long-winded answer there.
Mixon 9 for me as well. I think this is the year where you finally see Gio get nothing. I think Mixon is going to be their bell cow this year.
New coaching staff.
I think Mixon is their bell cow this year. I can see him outplaying a 9th ranking, but I can also see him dropping into like 20, 21.
I don't know
when it
anything
comes to his
about the new
performance.
coaching staff. It's the quarterback coach from the Los Angeles Rams. So you think maybe that he's going to provide some of that kind of offense over there. It's a typical Cincy. They're trying to rebuild on the fly, and it's not going to be good this year. So, but Joe Mixon might be the one like shining spot on that team to where you want to sit there and watch them. Which I don't.
I like watching Joe Mixon. There were a couple times where I would have to go to the bar to watch the Steeler game, and Joe Mixon is the only reason I was paying attention to the Bengals game.
Yeah. So my number 10, and that was your. We both had number 9. My number 10 is James Conner.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about James Conner later.
That's fine.
In regards to something, but
no, we don't even. I don't need to take a long answer on it because we're already just talking a lot here. James Conner. We'll bring that up when he's your number 10 as well.
Yep.
All right, so that's our top 10. Do you?
We were pretty close.
Do you agree?
Pretty equivalent to the same.
Yeah,
what yours was to mine.
Again, most of the top 10 is going to be the same. I think also 11 through 15 is going to be a lot of people's stuff. I think the 16 through 20 I'm going to be completely different on that. So let's just get into it. Number 11, I got my boy from the Cleveland Browns, right here. Cleveland Browns, Nick Chubb. I might be slightly high on him, but they don't use Duke that much. Kareem Hunt's not going to be there till week 8. I know they're going to throw the ball a lot, but when they're at their best, when Baker can sit there and be a play action, hit Odell on the seam, hit Jarvis underneath. So I'm going Nick Chubb, number 11, and I'm kind of like creeped out because you're like looking at me.
I'm waiting.
Like I'm wrong.
I got my no.
Like I'm wrong.
Nobody's wrong about anything.
Yeah, well, Nick Chubb. Again, I might be reaching his head. Am I reaching comment section? And if you're listening at home, because I haven't acknowledged anyone that's not watching us live right now.
Yeah.
Like, they're in the future. It's Saturday morning. They're listening to us right now. They're like, what about us? Well, right here. If you think that this is a too high of a ranking for Nick Chubb, or
hit us up.
Do you know like our top 10?
Yeah.
Twitter, Facebook. Go over there. Let us know if we are right.
Because that's exactly what we want. We want as much interaction as possible.
Perfect. So what's your number 11?
Can I speak on Nick Chubb first?
I mean, sure, but I'm looking at your ranking on him, and I feel like, man, I need to sit here and sip my tea while you do that.
Well, hold on. I just want to. So when we did our way too early at the end of the season, I had Nick Chubb at like 8.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things change, and you would realize a lot of my top 10 has changed. Somebody else that I have barely in the top 20 was in my top 10 at that point. But
I wonder who that is.
Kareem Hunt makes me nervous, only because if you draft Nick Chubb in your and I'll just tell you now, I have Nick Chubb at 15, not much further from 11, but if you draft Nick Chubb now, you're drafting him knowing that you have him for sure for 8 weeks, and then you don't know what's going to happen.
I still don't think that Kareem Hunt's
going
to be that guy.
But you can't. Nick Chubb's going to be that guy. There's no doubt about it. But he's going to share come playoff time, come the second half of the season. His touches are going to drop. And he's not going to be – it's not like you can say, all right, I'll use Nick Chubb for 8 weeks. I actually disagree
with you in a little bit. I don't think Nick Chubb's touches are going to drop. I think that Duke Johnson becomes irrelevant.
Okay.
That's what I think is going to happen.
That's fair.
But, again –
No, that makes sense.
That's what I think is going to happen. Now, is it going to happen? We don't know because we don't really know. This is a new coaching staff, a whole bunch of new talent everywhere. So let's move on. I got number 12 as –
My 11 is Dalvin.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No.
I went on a little tear there on.
Go ahead. You have
my number 11 is Dalvin Cook.
I have him at 13. So if you want to speak more on Dalvin, I think a lot of it with Dalvin Cook is that you're just afraid about his hamstrings.
Yeah.
Because the guy when he's in is
spurred me last year.
He's a top. I mean, I don't know if I want to go top 5. He's like a top 7, top 8 running back.
I took him 12 overall.
I took him. I think I took him first round. I went with Dalvin, Leonard Fournette, one of my leagues.
I went Dalvin C-Mac in 12-13 last year.
Dalvin and Leonard Fournette, and both those guys got hurt, and they were ugh.
Dalvin Cook's injury killed me, but I got lucky and was able to pick up James.
Dalvin Cook, when he's in, is very productive.
He's productive and he gets the volume.
And I don't know who the backup right now in Minnesota is.
I couldn't.
It could be Matt Asiata.
If you know who the backup is in Minnesota, let us know.
Let us know because I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Hey, people listening into the future, we probably still don't have an idea. Let us know on Facebook, okay?
But yeah, I think Dalvin Cook is 11. I think he could be as high as 8 if he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
I think his production is. I just think he's gonna. If he doesn't get hurt, he's a solid running back.
Gotcha. My number 12 is a guy that I love him, and we had a big disagreement with us when we did our way too early projected back in June. Marlon Mack for me is my number 12. I mean, return of the Mack. He's back in my top 20. I just think I don't really think anything. Nyheim Hines. I mean, who else did they sign? They don't have.
They just picked up. Although it's interesting that you want to pick up somebody that is so talked about so poorly. They just picked up Deontay Foreman.
They did.
I don't think that matters.
And I don't think it matters either. I don't
think he wants to be in the NFL.
I think Deontay Foreman's more of a whim pickup because the kid has talent like crazy, but he's been hurt his whole career. Marlon Mack is going to be in the passing game. He's going to be in the running game. I really like him. Now, he's one of those guys that I tend not to draft just because I'm never positive on what the Colts are going to do. Frank Wright's kind of put him out there. Last year, Marlon Mack, second half of the year, I traded for him. Phenomenal. He was a great pickup for me. I think he can continue to be that. Now, it's going to be 16 games. Can he be the number one guy for 16 games? Because he got hurt a lot during that season. It was a week here. It was never anything like he was out for 4 to 8 weeks. It was a week here, 2 weeks here. Nyheim Hines came in, and he did okay, but he's not a guy that you're looking at going like, yo, that's my dude. I think Marlon Mack is poised to have a top 15 running back fantasy football season this year.
So Marlon Mack was my top 10
I
guy.
remember that.
And you were like, what? And
yeah.
At that time,
I thought they were signing Lev Bell. I thought Lev Bell was going to the Colts.
That's fair. Okay.
That's why he was not in my top 20.
Marlon Mack.
I don't know why I keep on doing this.
Marlon Mack dropped the Hoy to 18 for me.
18?
Here's why. When I really sat back and looked at a few things, he did not catch a ton of passes out last year. Nyheim Hines was their passing back.
He was.
And you have to figure Jack Doyle was coming back. So you have a two tight end set with both Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle that's going to sometimes limit your passes out of the backfield to your running back.
Yeah.
Now, is it going to be significant? No, but I do think that they are going to use Nyheim Hines more in the passing game, and I think having two good tight ends is going to limit how much you throw to your running back.
I also think the Colts, who last year were a good team, but they were down a lot in games. There were some games where they're down, and Nyheim Hines was their guy there. I think the Colts this year are poised to have a really good season, and they're going to be up a lot in games.
Okay.
And I think Marlon Mack was going to be the guy that wins them some games on the ground late, and he's going to be a guy that runs the ball. I think they're going to be where they want a hands guy in there that's running the ball, and Marlon Mack, I think, is that guy.
Here's the thing on Marlon Mack is I'm looking at my 12 through 20, and 2 weeks from now, I could change some of these 12 through 20.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking at these names, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe Marlon Mack could be ahead of him. So it's tough. But
I just keep looking at my rankings. Sorry if I'm not engaging you enough. I'm sorry.
My 13.
Marlon Mack is 12. Who's your 12?
My 12 is, you can't call it a sleeper because it's your top 20, but I'm so high on this guy. Could end up being a top 8 type guy, especially after they just let go their passing back. Kerryon Johnson is my dude this year. Mm-hmm. I'm very high on Kerryon Johnson.
You can go ahead and talk about him. I have him at 14. You talk about why you're so high.
So I have him at 12. I had Kerryon Johnson at like 15 until they dropped Theo Riddick. Mm-hmm. Now, they do have C.J. Anderson as a backup, but C.J. Anderson isn't the type of guy you only use C.J. Anderson if your starter's hurt and you need to bring them out for some plays like they did in Los Angeles. Right?
Yeah. I don't see him getting
St. Louis.
I don't keep rekindling. I don't think he's rekindling that magic there. No.
So I think Kerryon is a workhorse, and you will notice once I put my rankings up, if you are a 3-down back, you get a higher ranking because you're going to get volume. Yep. Volume is the big thing when it comes down to running back rankings. So if you are a 3-down back, you are going to be a top 10 to 15 guy.
Absolutely.
For me. To me, there are 19, somewhere between 16 and 19 3-down backs in my opinion. I'd say anybody that I have ranked in like the top 15 to 18 are 3-down back type guys.
I'm looking at some of these rankings, and I realize that I might have one guy way too high. So here we were just on what number? 12.
Yeah.
My number 12 is Marlon Mack. So 13, I have Dalvin Cook. We talked about him already. Yeah. Who's your number 13?
Leonard Fournette.
And I have Leonard Fournette at 15, I did Kerryon Johnson at 14, Leonard Fournette 15 for me. So that way we get this out of there. I'm in full agreement with you at Kerryon Johnson. I actually think that now I could probably put him ahead of Dalvin and Marlon Mack a little bit. I think Marlon, Dalvin, and Kerryon are all going to be very solid fantasy football RB2s, if not RB1s in some leagues if you get lucky and be able to get, two. Because, you guys sprinkle on some receivers here. Yeah. So these are second, third round pick running backs that we're looking at right now. So you think
Nick Chubb is a back-end RB1?
I think if you go receiver first round and Nick Chubb's there, I think that he can be your RB1. Okay. What I would like to do, and like I tend to do in the running back draft strategy, is I like to tend to do running back. Now in our league, I'm going to have pretty much back-to-back picks. So I think I'm second to last. So I'm probably going to be running back, because once you turn over and you get past these top 15, 20 guys, you're starting to reach into some running backs that maybe aren't as good. So I'm giving away my whole draft strategy for anyone that plays fantasy football with me, but that's what I tend to want to do.
My draft strategy is the same. You have to have 2 running backs out of your first 3 picks.
Yep. So
you have to.
So I had Kerryon Johnson 14, so I agree with you. Leonard Fournette 15 for you. You have 13.
Leonard Fournette at 13. Okay. Again, this 10 to 18 can be interchangeable. I'm honestly telling you, I have Leonard Fournette a little higher at 13 because I read a couple times that they expect to use him more in the passing game this year. And now that they actually have a quarterback that may be able to get on the ball, I mean, he's not going to be catching 5 passes a game. But
3 catches for 25 yards. That's
5.5 points on that he wasn't getting last year.
Yeah, exactly. And that can make a big difference throughout the game. You do that. Obviously, just say 10 games, he catches 5 or gets 5.5 passes in the passing game. I mean, that's 55 points.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bigger point margin that he had last year. And hopefully he doesn't get injured, because when he's not injured, he is a touchdown guy. He is a high volume touchdown guy. I mean, when Jacksonville scores, it was because of him. I actually don't think I was really, really down on him last year. I'm still down on him this year. I'm not as high with Jacksonville. Nick Foles is a great quarterback for Philly, and that's what. But
I think he's still we'll talk about.
We're not even going to talk about it. So
who was your 14?
14 for me was Kerryon Johnson. 15 was Leonard Fournette. Who's your 14 and 15?
My 15 was Nick Chubb. 14 for me is Devontae Freeman.
I think the guy that always gets hurt.
He does. He does always get hurt. But Tevin Coleman is gone.
Yes.
So his backup is
I know
Ito Smith.
Yeah, Ito Smith. Yep.
So again, volume. Ito Smith is only going to play if they need him to play. Devontae Freeman can be a 3-down
Ito
back.
Smith is a passing down back, though, and I think that they're going to try to
Freeman can catch the ball.
I also think they're going to try to limit Devontae Freeman a little bit, because now he's the only guy there, so they're not going to try to concussion him up every 5 minutes.
So does Devontae Freeman make your top 20?
Yes.
Okay. But
we'll get there.
I do think that Devontae Freeman is used more in the passing game without Tevin Coleman.
Devontae Freeman, man, I feel like I just copied this list. Overall, Devontae Freeman is 18th overall of all the lists out there.
That's right.
My number 16, Damian Williams. I'm not as high on Damian Williams as others. There's some publications. This one right here, his overall ranking is 12.
No.
You're
higher on him than I am.
No. His overall ranking is 12. I'm not trying.
You're higher on him than I am.
You know what? I look at 16 through 20, and I see a couple guys there, but I'm not excited about 16 to 20. I'm not excited about
real excited about one guy, and we'll get to that.
There's a couple guys that I backed into the top 20 that I'm really, really pumped about, some of my sleepers, and I put them in my top 20 because I didn't really like guys like Derrick Henry. I don't think that Derrick Henry is that good. That's just he's good. Yeah, but he's not top 20 good. But whatever.
He had 3 good weeks last year, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Derrick Henry's the greatest thing ever." Like,
there's some guys. There's something. ESPN. I'm listening. They think he's going to be a leading rusher in the NFL. Derrick Henry,
and that's fine. Even if let's say that he is, he can't catch a damn pass.
So Damian Williams, I think, because again, volume. Okay. I mean, you know what? In Kansas City, he might get hurt, and there might be Deron Williams out there. There's always a D Williams on that side. So they do have Carlos Hyde.
Next man up.
But again, he's not a guy that I would be really scared about if I was Damian Williams. Damian Williams is the first and second down carries. You might see Carlos Hyde in there for first and second down carries at times, but when third down hits, Damian Williams is going to be out there. Patty Mahomes is going to have all these guys because, Tyreek Hill doesn't get suspended for anything. And I'm not even getting into that. But, he has all these weapons going downfield. The angle route for or Texas route, as it's called, for Damian Williams. He's going to be able to get a whole bunch of plays in the passing game, I believe, underneath.
So I'm also not going to get into it. If somebody wants to bring it up when we talk wide receivers next week, that's fine. I will talk about Tyreek Hill and his situation all day if someone actually wants to have the conversation.
All day, every day.
But sticking with the running backs, so your 16 was Damian Williams,
My
right?
16 was Damian Williams.
My 16 is Aaron Jones.
It should be number 1 overall pick, Aaron Jones, Matthew Don't Seaburn.
Yes.
I have Aaron Jones as my 17th pick, so we're very, very fluid with that.
I don't
He's
think
15 RB overall.
I don't think he's going to say much about it.
I'm just never excited about a Green Bay Packers running back.
Yeah.
I haven't been since Eddie Lacy when he was like when he was big Eddie Lacy. Not big Eddie Lacy, like big Eddie Lacy. Like there was the Eddie Lacy that tried to lose weight. Then there was Eddie Lacy that was like. Then there was like the Eddie Lacy that he was like one cheeseburger away from obese. And then there was Eddie Lacy that was like a thick. Like he was thick. Like when you look at him, you're like, oh girl, you thick. Okay. Like it was a nice way of putting it out there.
Aaron Jones is the same as Damian Williams.
I'm not a fan of Aaron Jones. I have him at 17. I have him at 17 because right now I feel like he's going to have the volume there. They don't have guys like Ty Montgomery vulturing plays in the passing game for him. I don't remember who their backup running back is at this present time. Because I haven't really studied the NFC North yet because we haven't had a chance to do that. But I'm not really excited. And then I have Devontae Freeman at 18. So who was your 17 and 18?
My 17, we'll say 18 is Marlon Mack.
Marlon Mack.
Talked about Marlon Mack. My 17 is, and I know, again, a sleeper is you wanted a sleeper to be outside your top 20. My 17
He's outside my top 20.
My 17 is my sleeper, is my big man. I think that he has the most touches he's ever had in his career. I am all over Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram is going to have a big year in Baltimore, and he is going to get the passing game as well.
They got Gus the Bus Edwards.
I don't care about any of their garbage.
This is where I came up when I didn't put him in I didn't put Mark Ingram in my top 20. And I have some guys in my top 20 that you'll disagree with vehemently, and I know this. Fine. And I know one I'm reaching very high on. But Mark Ingram, they're going to load the box in Baltimore. There's not going to be a lot of running room in there. They're going to run 8 in the box, cover man on the outside. And they're going to dare Lamar Jackson to beat him in the passing game. Okay. Until Lamar Jackson can do that, there's not going to be a lot of running room for Mark Ingram. Now, do I believe Mark Ingram's going to get a lot of touches? Well, yes. I actually don't think Gus the Bus Edwards is going to get a lot of touches there. Buck Allen's gone. They always have a little guy that's going to get in the
Mark Ingram
game.
Is the first running back they've had since I can remember that can catch the ball and is a starting running back.
He's okay in the passing game. He's not a guy that
He did the same things Kamara did 2 years ago. The numbers were close to the same. He just doesn't have as much as a burst. So, you know what? We've been really, the same throughout, 17
I don't agree with this at all.
So, this is our first disagreement.
I just think the running lanes aren't going to be there for him for having the high volume you want him to have in the run game.
It's our first disagreement of the new football season.
We'll get used to it because there's about to be a whole bunch here in a minute. So, my 18, I said I had Devontae Freeman. Your 18 was Marlon Mack. Your 19, we've already covered.
My 19, we've already covered, is Damian Williams.
My 19, and he is my sleeper. He's a running back from the.
I'm glad that he's a running back.
I don't know why. I was going to say he's a rookie running back from the Oakland Raiders, and I have it as Josh Jacobs.
Everybody is so high on Josh Jacobs.
Volume. Name me a playmaker in Oakland besides Antonio Brown and his
Tyrell Williams.
I said a playmaker.
Okay.
Yeah. So. You're actually proving my point even more.
So what? And then suddenly
you have Antonio Brown running this. You have Tyrell running this. You have double coverage, rolling coverage, and you have Josh Jacobs in the passing game who can.
No, because when the Raiders are down 30, they're going to be throwing the ball to Jalen Richard.
Yeah,
you can't act like he doesn't exist.
It's Richard.
So sorry.
It's Richard.
So sorry.
Get it as a guy that had to have him as RB2 a lot of times last year. It's Jalen Richard. Okay.
All right.
No, I'm high on him because of volume. They don't run the ball with Richard. They don't run the ball with him. So he's going to get all the carries. Not some of the carries, all the carries. And I feel like that they're going to run him to the ground. He's a kid that Alabama was underused because they have so much talent there. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to get 250, 300 touches. Going to be a guy that's going to be a bell cow for that team. That's going to be a very bad team, but he's going to be a bright spot in that team.
I mean, he makes he's at 25 for me. He's definitely going to get the most touches of all rookie running backs. And he's the one rookie running back that I actually agree deserves to be in the top 25. There's some guys that people are calling sleepers that I'm just, and we can talk about that.
So my sleepers are 19 and 20. I put them into my top 25, my top 20 because I think they're sleepers. And I don't know why my 20th is considered a sleeper. I know why, but we'll get there in a second. Who's your 19th?
19 is Damian Williams. We talked about.
Who's your number 20? And I actually love this pick.
My number 20 is Chris Carson.
So I had him and the guy I have as a flip-flop for number 20.
I had Chris. So you should know that in the last 4 days, this has changed 4 times.
Jeez.
Chris Carson was like 16 2 days ago.
16?
And then I moved him down a little bit.
The problem with Chris Carson that we're going to arise is that they have a guy in Rashard Penny that they put a first-round draft pick in it. So they're going to give him every opportunity to try to win carries.
But if you look at Chris Carson's numbers the last 3-4 weeks of the season, and I mean,
phenomenal.
He was getting 20 carries.
He's phenomenal. And that was with Penny getting 5 carries and Rawls getting like 5 carries.
The only reason I don't have Chris Carson higher is because he's not used a ton in the passing game.
No, and
there's games where he doesn't catch a single pass.
I don't think Seattle uses their passing game, period. If they do, it's Russell Wilson run around, and then throw the seam route to Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
I am very big on Carson this year. I do have a pause, and this is another reason why my 20th pick, I should have probably not put him there. I have Philip Lindsay as a top 20, and I know that he's going to be in a lot of people's publications. He's 23 in the overall thing. I know a lot of people won't even have him as top 30. I know the reasons why. I think talent prevails. That's why I think Chris Carson's going to get all the carries because I don't think Penny has it, and I think Philip Lindsay is going to get, even if Philip Lindsay isn't a first and second down back, he's still a top 20 running back because of his pass game. I know that they put the first round pick on, and the same thing I said about Carson on. Why am I drawing a blank? Denver Freeman, yes. And I know they're going to try to give him opportunities to win the job there. I know this, but Philip Lindsay is Danny Woodhead reincarnated, undrafted. Nobody thought that. He is the guy. Is small in stature in the passing game. Danny Woodhead at his peak, and I think Philip Lindsay is a better version of Danny Woodhead, was a top 20 fantasy running back, and all he did was catch the ball.
Philip Lindsay isn't even the best pass-catching running back on that team.
Well, they picked up Theo Riddick. Yeah. I don't think Theo Riddick's going to stick.
I don't even know if he'll stay on the team.
I don't think he'll stick.
So here's the issue that I have. So were we doing top 25 or just top
20?
Top
20. Just top 20, yeah.
All right.
So if you want to rattle off your last few as a quick,
go right ahead.
You did the work. Okay. Rattle it off.
21, I have Derrick Henry. 22 is a sleeper for me. Is Lamar Miller.
I like Lamar
Miller.
Now
that they let go of Deontay Foreman, that's basically saying we trust Lamar Miller. Because if you look at the rest of that depth chart, there's nobody there.
No.
So I didn't like Lamar Miller a week ago. I had Lamar Miller at like 38.
Okay.
And then once they cut Deontay Foreman, I was like, okay,
they like
different.
They like him.
Yes, because then volume. 23, Tariq Cohen, 24, James White, and 25, Josh Jacobs. I didn't write down a couple overrated names. And the first one on my list
is Philip Lindsay.
Lindsay. And here's why. The big thing that you need to look at are his averages last year and why he did as well as he did. He's not going to average the stuff he averaged.
Danny Woodhead averaged astronomical numbers per touch, and he stuck around for a while.
He's
Danny Woodhead, damn it.
I love the Philip Lindsay story, the whole I love Denver, I'm from Colorado, la, la, la. Like, I love the story. But I just don't. I don't think he does it again. Wow, that was unnecessary.
I'm just doing it. We got to move on. We got to move on for fantasy football because we don't want to be too long over an hour. It looks like we're at the 48-minute mark, which I feel like we've only been talking for 48 seconds. We're going to move on and talk 8. And we kind of told you some sleepers. You had some guys that anyone that we didn't talk about that is a guy that you think is going to be really good this year as a sleeper running back in fantasy football.
I told you Mark Ingram is my big sleeper. I actually think that, and this is why I said I was going to talk about James Conner again. James Conner is a top 10 running back, but his volume is not going to be the same because they've already talked about utilizing Jalen Samuels more.
They can't because they saw what happened to him.
I think Jalen Samuels could be a solid flex play this year.
He might.
I really think he could be a solid flex play.
They obviously already saw what happened to James Conner when you overuse him, and it came back to bite them in the butt late.
And they've been talking about wanting to do a lot of 2 running back sets.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
I love that.
I think that they're going to be good. Both those guys are going to be good in fantasy football. James Conner obviously is going to get the majority of it. But Jalen Samuels is going to be a guy that's going to be in the passing game because he showed really well in there. And he showed that between the tackles, he can run for being a smaller guy.
I love Tevin Coleman as a number 1.
I hate any. Why does